Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Now, I'm going to just alternate between cards. Pink cards are parent cards, community cards, as opposed to the white cards, which are staff cards. Also going to remind our folks up front here that you can write a dissertation on many of these. So a couple minutes each, please. Question 1. What experience do you bring to the district that does not already exist, and what changes will you implement that may not already be in place?
I think my experience is unique in the sense that I have, much like Mr. Islas, I have been a part of all aspects of a school district and understand that how school districts operate. One of the things that we have implemented in my current district is this concept of what we call academic parent-teacher teams. Some of the staff here may be familiar with those, but we've used them to replace a traditional 15-minute parent-teacher conference because we found that that was not an effective way to really engage parents in the understanding of how their children were doing in their classroom. And this process is a little bit different. It involves having class meetings where parents are given information regarding their students, how their students are performing against the baseline, as well as how they're performing with other students in their classrooms. They are given opportunities to learn new strategies to work with their children at home, as well as being given materials to go home and work with their children on specific skills that will help that child in that grade level right now. And we replaced our parent-teacher conferences because we wanted parents to be much more engaged with the specifics of their children's learning, understanding specifically how their children were doing. We have found great success with that. We have found that our students whose parents engage in that accelerate their learning. As far as changes to this district, I would just echo what several people have said here. I don't know that you realize it because you are Alhambra, but outside of Alhambra, you are the model. Other urban districts like Creighton look to Alhambra and say, how does Alhambra do these things? What do they do? Okay? I would not be presumptuous to come in and say, after meeting with your board and spending some time in the district, that I would come in and make these changes. I don't think I know enough to come in and say, I would make these changes and be specific about them. But I do know that, like most of my colleagues up here, spending the time getting to know people, talking to parents, talking to children, talking to teachers, talking to administrators, talking to everybody will give me a better sense of what the needs are specific to this district. Know some of them, a few of them have been, on the news, but, retention issues, those types of things. But it would be presumptuous of me to turn around and say, I'm going to come in and I will make these changes. That takes some time, that takes some understanding and some knowledge.
In regards to what I bring to this district that doesn't currently exist, my answer isn't going to reflect that that's what I'm looking to bring here. It's just a perspective that I bring. I have 10 years of my 21 years have been in dual language programs. I very much believe in a dual language approach. I've been in Spanish, English, 50-50 dual language models where students have the opportunity to learn all academic content in English and in Spanish, all academic areas. What this perspective allows me, though, to bring into the district is a firm understanding of language learning and language learning opportunities for all students. So not everyone in my school currently chooses that dual language program. It's about 1/3 of my school. Yet I do believe that there is a certain understanding about the language learning process and that every student that's in the school is a language learner. And so that becomes our approach to how we're looking at literacy. Whether we're looking at English language learners, students that are in all English classrooms all day long and within the SEI model, students that are learning within 2 languages, students that are in the mainstream classrooms. They're fluent English speakers, they're not choosing a language learning program, but how are they going to represent themselves as literate students? So how they express themselves, language learning as it helps reading, as it helps writing, as it helps them to be able to express themselves. I have this ability to work with, or have the opportunity to have worked with younger students for these past 8 years, but also the perspective to see where they're headed in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and still have the connection to the community, to those parents, and to the teachers at that school, to work with them on making sure that the work that we're doing at the elementary is continued at the intermediate grades, also continuing at the middle school level. One other thing that I do bring that I'm not sure the extent to which they are happening here within the district is a firm belief in and ability to build partnerships with communities, particularly with university communities. We have worked in our district very strong with local universities. You have a university in your backyard. And so looking for those opportunities for not only what we have as our collective knowledge, but with those who are in the profession of looking at how students learn, looking at how teachers teach, and how we work together to build that process to become stronger for students. So I hope to be able to bring some of that partnership idea into the district. Much as Dr. Bogner mentioned, the idea of coming in and bringing about change isn't why I come to this job. The first thing that I would need to do before taking any action is to learn about this community, talking about partnerships, and hopefully I'll have a chance to talk about that later a little bit more. Partnerships are only possible through relationships, and so that would be the first thing that I'd need to do coming in, is work on building relationships with the business communities in general, with the schools, and see what the needs of the teachers here are, what the needs of students are, needs of the community are, and then be responsive to that rather than with ideas that I have coming in about how I want to change things here. Thank you.
Rather than tell you earlier, I'm going to explain this now so you can see how it works. The first 2 candidates answered the first question. Now, to get more questions asked, we're going to stagger to the second 2 candidates with this question. As part of the 32-page recap of the survey regarding challenges and issues of the district, how do you plan on supporting teachers with discipline issues that affect our time teaching?
Well, first of all, I do want you to know that I watched every YouTube video I could possibly see about the survey and the 875 people that responded to this survey, and your input is very, very important. With respect to student discipline, I take a preventative approach first, and 3 things I think need to happen in order to lower discipline referral rates, to keep our students in the classroom. One is continuing to work to build positive relationships throughout the school community. That's among teachers and parents and teachers and students, that we all work together in a positive way to support our students. Secondly, we also want to develop our staff and continue to support them in improving in instruction and growing. I know that I was a lot better at handling student issues later in my career than I was at the beginning. And it was very key for me to have people in my life to help support me along those ends. It's also very important that we have systems in place at our schools that promote safety, that explain expectations, and set the tone at the campus for keeping a peaceful learning environment. Now, I did suspend students. I wanted to be, we got to that point. We had students that committed egregious behaviors, and at times we out of school suspended students, or we had to put them in school detention. But what that immediately began was a process of problem solving. There are a few students that I have found that you suspend them once and it's never going to happen again. They've learned their lesson. On the other hand, there are situations where we need to go into problem-solving mode with parents, staff, administration, specialists to support students so they can get back into the classroom. And I would add that it is very, very important that we support teachers in these types of situations, that the teachers feel like the problem is being addressed and taken care of, and that they feel like they have a plan with which to move forward. So both prevention and then going into the problem-solving mode when we do have the more severe behaviors that can occur on a school.
You know, there's nothing worse than having a well-trained teacher, students that want to learn, and then having a couple of kids keep teachers from teaching or other kids that want to learn from learning. That is the worst thing that we can allow in our school district. That can't happen. The classroom has to be sacred. We are not going to raise student achievement. You know, we're not going to do the great things with our kids if our kids do not understand how they are supposed to behave, what the expectations are, and the fact that there will be consequences for their behavior. I know what I'm saying can be a bit controversial, but our teachers work hard. And my principals, if I'm the superintendent, will know that if a teacher sends a kid out of the classroom, it's because they've tried everything that you're going to tell them. They've redirected them. They've tried to pair them up with somebody. They've tried to go and counsel them and maybe put their hand on their back. Teachers send kids to the office when they've had it. So what we need to do is recognize that the classroom will be sacred and the kids may not disrupt the learning environment. I have no problem, and I will teach the principals that we are going to have issues if I go into the classroom and there's disruptions, because that means that we're not supporting the teachers. Now, I believe and I agree with the training, particularly with the young teachers. I know it's hard to learn classroom management skills and strategies and how to redirect kids. But let's face it, there are some that try to ruin it for all, and we have to figure out what to do with them. I'm going to give you an example of what we've done in some of the elementary schools that I've been in and in the high school that I'm here right now. And it has a different twist depending on what grade you're in. But teachers should have the opportunity to tell a student that's being disruptive in the classroom that, hey, Sergio, I'm going to use you as an example because you're the only one I know your name, okay? I think I'm going to make Sergio my assistant before they... I'm going to look at Sergio and say, me as a teacher, Sergio, you need to get to work. You know what we're doing. And teacher keeps on teaching. Okay? If Sergio continues to disrupt, she just tells Sergio, I see that you're not ready to learn. Come see me. Quickly, the teacher has an opportunity for Sergio to go to a responsible learning classroom where Sergio can learn how to behave and we can come back when he's ready. Now, lots of people are going to say that, oh, he's not learning while he's in that other classroom. Well, he wasn't learning when he was disrupting. So, in that respect for learning classroom, maybe go over a plan, talk about what their behaviors were, and then when Sergio's ready to go back and learn again, we send him back. But nothing irritates a teacher more when they send a kid out of a classroom and the kid's back in 5 or 10 minutes. It's like we would undermine what they're doing in the classroom. We can't let that happen. You know, sometimes we focus on the bottom quartile, the middle kid. There's a lot of gifted kids in this district that are being held back because we don't have the order in the classroom. I will teach my principals how to make sure we have order in the classroom.
We're going to start with our second candidate in this round. And I'm going to combine two questions, one from a community member and one from a school employee, because they're very closely worded. One is, what do you feel is the most important thing to do to build teacher morale? The second one is, how will you work towards building relationships and positive rapport with staff?
I'm very proud of the fact that at Encanto School this past year, 93% of the teachers were right back at the place where they had worked the year before. This upcoming year, I do have someone that is making the decision after 32 years that she's going to retire, so I'm going to allow that. I do have a couple teachers that are moving into leadership positions within the district, but for the most part, the teachers are very content, very happy. Why is that? Why is it that we're able to retain good teachers at our school and other schools struggle with that? Success breeds success. Right? People want to be in an environment where they feel successful. They want to be in an environment where they feel protected. Mr. Eastles just talked about that support for teachers. This is a hard time to be in education. There are so many things coming at you, whether it's at a state level, community level. Things seem to be attacking the institution of teaching. And so the workplace, whether it's the district, whether it's at the school level, needs to be a protection. It needs to be a comfortable place, a place where you feel respected, a place where you can air your feelings about how things are. The way that I'm going to work on building relationships and working on the retention of staff is one person at a time. It takes building individual relationships, and that's where I feel that I'm most comfortable, is in that one-on-one setting, whether it's with parents sitting down at a situation that may be very inflamed seeming when someone comes into my office. I feel that give me time, sit down with a listening ear, we're both going to leave this conversation in a peaceful place, with our dignity intact, and with a solution that we're both going to be working towards. I have a situation in relation to student discipline that happened a few weeks ago with a teacher of mine that I've worked with for the past 8 years. And she wishes there were a different outcome in a discipline situation. I have a bit of a fuller perspective of the situation. She knows what happened in that situation there. I had a little bit of perspective on what was happening at home and in some greater relationships that were going on. And so the decision that I made in terms of whether or not the student was going to be suspended or not, I didn't suspend him. For this instance, for this situation. And she was really hoping for that, I think, because she felt that she was disrespected at that moment, and she felt that the other students in the classroom were disrespected as well, and wanted a more severe consequence than what I was giving out at the time. And so she came into my office. Number one, she came to my office and talked to me. That's number one. She felt comfortable to do that. Number two, she very strongly let me know that she disagreed with the situation. Number three, she let me know that she has supported me throughout my 8 years and really wished that I had not made this decision. She felt comfortable to air all of that with me. She went home that day not feeling supported. Time went on, a couple days. The things that I knew that were going on in the situation manifested themselves. And she came to a bit of understanding as to the perspective that I brought to it. We didn't have to have a conversation about that decision that was made, but I think that she understood where I was coming from. And so we were able to come back together and look at that situation. Number one, when all was done with that student over the next week, very welcoming of him in her environment, wanting him to be there because she knew she had built a relationship. She was hurt. She was personally hurt by the thing that happened and felt that something happened that broke relationship and needed some time to work through that. In the end, she's come to me. She wants to be a part of our leadership team next year. She wants to continue that relationship. We would not have gotten there if there weren't a sense of trust built between the two of us. Many years of working together, many years of feeling comfortable discussing exactly how we feel about things and exactly what our possible solutions are. If you're going to bring a problem, that's all right. I will be there, I will listen. Please bring a solution. I'll bring my thoughts to the table, and we can work on that together. I take that approach with parents, I take that approach with staff, and it's all because I'm a parent, I'm a teacher, and I haven't lost that perspective of what it's like to be on the other side of the table. So as long as we have a sense of understanding that we're all working towards the same end goal and are willing to work on building relationship, I can't build a relationship with you by myself. We need to be partners in doing that. So I want to start just with building those relationships, one staff member at a time, being in their classroom, passing on kind words to them, coming together in district teams or in school teams, and them seeing me and who I am as a teacher and as an educator, and that my concerns are the same as theirs, and that we can continue working together.
I was all ready to go there, Jim, so thank you for yielding the floor. As I told you earlier, for the last 2 years, I've been in human resources, and I believe that one of the most important roles that human resources provides to a school district is recruiting and retaining staff. And in case you have not heard, we have a major shortage of teachers coming out of schools, and it is a very competitive environment right now to hire teachers. If you're a teacher, get an agent. Have them negotiate your contract for you. So what we have decided to do in our district for the last 2 years is focus on retention of staff. And one of the things that we have done is we have gone out and interviewed face-to-face about 20% of our staff, 9 teachers from every school, to find out about their employment experience in our district. Here's what we have found. Number one, the thing that keeps teachers in our district and working and happy is their relationship with their supervisor. And we take that information back to our supervisors, and we talk about what are ways that we can cultivate trusting relationships with our staff. What can we do to make them feel like they are leaders, that they have input as to what goes on at the school? Relationships with supervisors matter. Secondly, relationships with their colleagues. That was the second thing that keeps people on the job or in the district. How do we create a collaborative environment on our teams, among our teachers, so that they enjoy the people that they're working with and that they are accomplishing great things together? One of the things that was interesting that we found out is, as with Alhambra, people don't mind working hard. In fact, they appreciate being given leadership opportunities in a school. And they appreciate having a supervisor who says, you know what, here's something really important that we need to see happen for our community. Are you willing to take on that role? I'll support you, I'll be behind you all the way. That is another way that we develop teacher and staff leaders, but also raise the morale. Of course, it is very important that we take good care of our employees with respect to the benefits that they receive. Are we compensating them well? Do they feel like they are being taken care of from a benefits perspective? One of the things that to tie this all back to recruiting, one of the things that we found is our most effective recruiting method. We did a big study of all the teachers that we hired this year. Our #1 recruiting method in our district is word of mouth. It's people going out and saying, hey, this is a great district for you to work. And so, as you can see, we end up on a cycle here. We take very good care of our employees, we support them, we give them what they need, and in turn, they're going to go out and bring people into our district, which helps us obviously with the recruiting, and of course if people aren't leaving, you recruit less.
Last question we started with our second candidate, so this question we start with our third candidate.
Just getting comfortable.
And then we'll start with the fourth candidate after that.
Okay.
Everybody gets their chance to be first.
All right.
Okay, questions. Why would you come to our district? Are you going to settle turmoil? Why would you come to our district? Are you going to settle turmoil?
Well, I would come to this district to, first of all, fulfill a mission that has gotten me into this line of work since 1992, and that is to make a difference in the lives of students and to build futures through our parents and our staff in order to, or work with our students, our parents and our staff in order to build future for our kids. With respect to turmoil, Alhambra does not need an overhaul. This is a great district. We have great staff, we have great parents, we have great students, we have great community members. If there are people that are feeling disenfranchised or that they have concerns, the most important thing I can do when I become superintendent is I need to go around and listen to people. And we need to have the collaborative environment here in this district to be able to listen, to come together. We are family. Alhambra is a family, and solve our whatever issues we have together. It is crazy to think that we are not going to get along on every single matter that comes before us. But number one, we will always keep our students first. And along with that, we will take very good care of our staff and our parents, and we will bring all the community in that we can to take care of this district. So yes, turmoil does happen. But I would hope that through collaboration and the leadership coming from the superintendent, that we are able to get back to the business, to resolve those things and get back to the business of taking care of our students.
Could you repeat the question, please? I know it's about turmoil, but I want to hear the whole question.
Yes, sir. Why would you come to our district and how would you solve turmoil?
Well, I want to be here, as corny as it sounds, because I feel that I'm home and I feel that I'm needed here. You know, one of the things that I've been able to do everywhere I've gone is make sure that everybody feels like they matter. Everybody from classified, certified, administrative, whether you work in the transportation department, food services, wherever you work, wherever you serve our district, every single person matters. And you know, there were about 25 guys, about 25, 30 superintendencies open in the district. I didn't apply for anyone but this one, because I feel that my skills in bringing people together are needed at this time. I feel that I am the right leader at the right time for this district. Everyone is going to matter. I am going to listen to everyone, and I'm going to make sure that everybody feels part of the process. You know why people feel like they don't belong? Because we don't communicate. Because we're not transparent. Because we feel that the work at the district office is more important than the work at the schools. That isn't so. We all have a role. And we all have to work together, juntos, together. That's what we have to do. You know, I have a playlist on my iPod. And one of the things that I do when I'm feeling down is I play this song. And it's Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. If you're a Michael Jackson fan like me, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's about looking in the mirror, looking at yourself, seeing what you can do as an individual, to make things better. I'm going to reach out to people. We're going to have some great conversations. Everyone's going to matter. And in the end, every one of us is going to look in the mirror and say, how do we move this district forward out of the turmoil? Right now, Alhambra's kind of in a state of, what's going to happen? Are we going to come together as a team and reinstill the greatness that has always been this legacy of this district? Or are we going to continue as adults to make the mistakes and be divided? That can't happen. We have to do this together. We have to do it by respecting one another, treating each other with dignity, and making sure that everybody matters. We're all going to have to look in the mirror and do this together.
And this question, we're going to start with candidate 4.
I'm back.
One more time. You get to be first this time.
Okay.
Okay, the question is, there have been a few schools who have extended kindergarten day. It seems to be a long day for kindergartners. What's your thoughts about extra hours?
I got to be honest, I love elementary school district, but the kinders freak me out. When I was an elementary school principal, the teachers used to bring the kinders to my office, like on my birthday and like on Boss's Day, and sing songs to me. And God, it used to freak me out. I can't handle the kinders. I can handle this 6'5", 250-pound lineman at Tempe High, and I'll tell them to sit down and they listen. But I can't reach the kinders, so this is a tough one for me. You want to go first? Actually, full-day kinder, I've always been a supporter of full-day kinder. I really have. What I think has to happen in full-day kinder is we have to have a structure that makes sense. Are we going to be working on literacy development, the concepts of math? What are we going to be working on? That's what has to make sense in kinder. And here's what I've learned from being a principal at every level. In preschool, elementary, and first grade, teachers cultivate the learner. We work with the learner. All these primary students are learners. And you know what happens as they get older? We try to turn these learners into students. And that's where we can't find our balance. I believe that kindergarten should be a place where learning takes place and they explore. And if they have to take a nap, let them sleep for 15 minutes. I believe that we have to set an environment where you cultivate the learner. Let's not try to turn kindergartners into students, not yet. Let's leave that to the high schools. We got to cultivate the learners. We have to support full-day kinder, but we have to look back at what we're doing and make sure that what we're doing is right for them developmentally, academically, socially, emotionally. Kinders are a different beast, and we can't make them into students right away.
I was a little hesitant since I made the mistake last time of getting up before my turn. But I got the high sign from Steve, and it is my turn. I'm with Mark. I believe in the full-day kindergarten. I think it's important. One of the challenges we have in schools in general, especially schools in the urban core, is that our children are expected to do the same things as every child is supposed to do. But some of our children need more time. And we're not very good in terms of the state as recognizing that. And when it comes to things like little kids being in school full time, all day, it's critical to understand it's what you do during that time. Is how you teach children. As Mark talked about, their ability to explore. It's also about, it's not about having them sit in a chair for longer than, and with kindergartners, longer than 10 minutes at a time. It's not about having them sit in a chair and be writing and reading all day. That's not what kindergarten is. It's about having developmentally appropriate activities and strategies so that kids are engaged all day. Many kids go to preschool all day, right? But they're up and about, they're moving and learning at the same time. And I think that it's important to recognize that it's not so much the time as what we do with the time. And from that perspective, I think it's critical that we help our kids with the time that we can afford them so that they can be ready for that next grade level and for that grade level after that. So anyway, that's my response.
As I mentioned, we're going to go about an hour. We won't get all the questions answered today, but I do want to tell you what's going to happen with the questions that don't get asked or answered today, and that is they will go to the board. The board will have them, they'll be able to review them, they'll be able to look at them, and I always suggest that all of these questions, whether answered tonight or not, go to the new superintendent, because the new superintendent needs to know what's on your mind. The other thing I want to remind you of, you all received, or you should have, an opportunity to pick up one of those comment cards. Those are very important to your board. Please be diligent in filling one out, and please be honest with your thoughts. Your board needs to see what you're thinking. Okay, I have 2 yellow cards. That means that students were involved in these. These will be our last 2 cards. Why don't we mix it up just a little bit and have candidate 2 and 4 work together on this one. Education cuts are on the horizon. How will you manage them in the budget?
You sit together one at a time or together?
That's one question. I think the emphasis, as I read it, is how are you going to manage budget cuts?
Okay. One of the first things when looking at budgets for the upcoming year is to look at not only what you're getting, it's part of the entire process of going from one school year into the next. So it can deal with the education, with the instruction that's happening in the classroom. It can deal with budgets. When you're making a plan from one year to the next, you're looking at what are you dealing with now and how are you going to work moving into the next school year. So if you're looking at declining budgets, the first thing you need to look at is the operational efficiency of your district right now. So first and foremost, looking at each department, looking at how well are things going. Number one, I have to say, just looking at the financial future of this district, the Auditor General's report for Alhambra District moving forward is very positive. This district has done a tremendous job of protecting the taxpayer resources of the schools. The district seems to have very sound fiscal management right now. So it's not so much looking at if there are problems financially with the district, because the district is in such a good situation right now, but looking at as there are cuts coming. I've had the opportunity to work for the past 8 years in a small district, and we're very lean. Every single one of those cuts hurts dramatically. So departments, a curriculum department that when I first came on had 8 staff members that may be down to 3 staff members 8 years now later. Looking within the schools, but each one of those cuts that was made was, number one, not made by any one individual. In our district, we've used a budget committee process, so it's been transparency, laying out what are the different budgets. So looking at from transportation to food services to all the different budgets that are there, having a committee of people. This includes teachers, administrators. We've had board members serving on that committee. We've had classified members looking at all the different budgets and what budgets you can actually work with. If you're looking at cuts to your maintenance and operations budget, people may look at some things and say, we need to cut this, we need to cut this, we need to cut this. But those are all done from federal budgets. So that's not something that can necessarily be touched when you're looking at your operations budget for the entire district. You need to look at each department, look at the spending that's been done, and then look for how that can be managed. Number one, the majority, 85 to 90% of your M&O budget is in salaries. So if there are cuts that are happening, it's happening to individuals. What are the things that the community can live with as you're putting students first? So you have to think about what the goal of the district is. The goal of the district is not to protect my job. The goal of the district is to provide the education that our children need and deserve. Now, how can we be more efficient in the Human Resources Department? How can we be more efficient in the Language Acquisition Department? How can we be more efficient in transportation, food services? Looking at all of that, being very transparent, and then discussing this process openly so that everyone hears what the concerns are, using an accordion approach. You come together, you talk about ideas, you generate ideas, and you bring those out. And you bring forth new ideas by going out and sharing that with the community. Working on school budgets isn't something that should be happening behind closed doors with a few individuals that have access to the budgets. Everyone needs to see what's happening with the budgets and making sure that everyone's voice, all stakeholders in the process, get an opportunity to share and work on the development. And if there are cuts that need to happen, making sure that it's something that will not hurt the end goal of providing the best education for our students.
First of all, when we talk about cuts to a school district, priority number one should always be that the cuts should be the furthest away from the classroom. We cannot be cutting support in the classroom and cutting what teachers need and expect to have teachers raise student achievement and do what they have to do in the classroom. So we have to start out with some guiding principles. The guiding principles should be cuts furthest away from the classroom. And then we have to have a process of taking a look at all these cuts. All stakeholders, teachers, parents, students, if Sergio is going to be on the committee, we need to have everyone a part of the solutions for the district. We all know we have to do that. Now, what I've been able to use in some of the places I've worked is a process called the critical wheel. It's kind of, do you know what the critical wheel is, some of you? And what it actually is you draw a huge circle on a whiteboard, okay? At the core of that circle, you write critical in it. These are the things that are critical. These are the things that we need in order to function in the district. Then you draw a circle that's around that critical, and you write the word essential. What are some things that are essential? What are some resources? What are some systems? What are some personnel positions that we need that are essential? They're not quite critical that we absolutely need them, but they're essential to our district. And then finally, on the outer layer, we have what's desirable. We have to look at what needs are desirable to our district, but not necessarily critical or essential. When you have a process and you invite all stakeholders to be a part of it, and as we've said before, and you're transparent and you genuinely care for everybody in your district, you can have an open process where there are no surprises with the budget cuts, and we can all be a part of that. Furthest from the classroom, recognizing what's critical, essential, or desirable, and everybody's got to be a part of the process. Thank you.
This last question is for candidate 1 and 3. It's from a student. Will you keep special classes and technology in place?
Absolutely. Those things are part of the quality of life. And I don't know that anybody else would answer any differently, but without question, our music, PE, technology, those pieces of what we do are important. There are many children that we serve who will find their light in those areas. They will find that special passion that lies deep within them when they go to that art room, when they are in physical education, when they are participating in band or choral or music. They are critical. Unfortunately, those do tend to be some of the things that are looked at first when people go into making reductions. Fortunately for the Alhambra district, as other candidates have said, you are in a very good position financially, and you are very strong in terms of your financial situation. So yes, absolutely, we should be looking not only at how do we maintain those, but how do we grow and develop those into programs that become signature type programs that are admired throughout the state. So.
And the answer is yes, we need to continue our special area classes, our technology in this district. But for whoever the student is who is out there who asks this question, I think you need to know why we're able to do that. And that is because it is important to the governing board, it's important to the leadership of this district, it's important to the staff of the district that we give you these opportunities to go beyond reading, writing, math, science, and social studies, and have opportunities to develop your creative skills, to code, to be a part of a STEM club, to be in a Paxton Patterson lab. These are all things that we do to support you. And by the way, one of the ways that we do that is because we have an outstanding community here that supports us on overrides. We have Stanford Children here. We have staff that go out and on Saturdays and hang flyers. All these things put Alhambra in a position that a lot of districts are not in. And that is to be able to offer these classes, because when the tough cuts come, unfortunately, these types of classes tend to go. But not in Alhambra. That is not what we have done, and we have always worked very, very hard with our community. In fact, Alhambra just passed a huge technology override. And again, that's through our staff working hard, our parents working hard, and getting our community behind these schools because they believe in our schools.
There's a tremendous amount of talent and knowledge on the stage. Gentlemen, I thank you. Appreciate it. And I thank you as a community and audience for being here this evening. Please take time in the next however long it takes to meet these gentlemen, mingle with them, talk to them, ask them questions, and your comment cards, there's 2 baskets on the tables on the way out. Please put your comment cards in there. Thank you, and again, gentlemen, thank you.